Andre, great. Thanks for joining. Welcome to the Breaking and Entering Advertising podcast. Excited to talk with you. The whole thing here is to figure out how you broke into the ad industry, what you're doing today, and your best advice for the next generation. How does that sound?
It sounds good.
Cool.
I have thoughts already, but
okay. What gets you most excited about that?
Well, I think it depends if you want to start at the beginning or if you want to start at the end, right?
So we go wherever you want, whatever gets you fired up the most.
Right. The end is like what advice I would give to the next generation, because I think that's different from how I got here, and I think that's the moment we're in, and I think that's really important, right? Like, I have a lot of peers, there's a lot of leaders, that say things, I want to make the agency that I always wanted to work at. Okay, so you're 52, right? I'm not 52, but this hypothetical person, that's not hypothetical. I'm actually thinking of an actual person. But so the agency that you didn't like that you worked at, right? What age were you? 28, 32? So that's, you know what I mean? Like, the industry that the agency you wanted to work at that's in your brain, that industry doesn't exist, right? So if you're breaking and entering into advertising, it has to be breaking and entering into advertising in 2026, 27, 28, 29, 30, because the advice doesn't make sense. It can't be breaking into advertising in 2012.
Right. For example, it's like it used to be like you studied it, or you found your way, you discovered that you liked it, and then you made a portfolio, you picked art director, copywriter, account person, strategy person, you picked one of those roles, you built a portfolio, got an internship, and then you broke into a big traditional agency. And you're working on, television, print, radio, maybe some social, but that's like the bread and butter, right? Like, you know some people, you find an Ogilvy or a Havas or whatever agencies you like, a Leo Burnett, if you're in Chicago area like I grew up.
Yeah.
So you're saying that, what are you saying? Like, is that not the same route today?
I'm not even at the route. I'm just at the industry.
Okay.
Right? So the industry existed historically to solve certain problems, right?
Yeah.
And people had communications problems. They had new products. They had R&D. They had new businesses launching. And you had people in consumers that had first a very ubiquitous experience, right? Going all the way back to like the Marshall McLuhan medium is the message kind of, you invent TV and there's 4 TV channels and you can go on, the Tonight Show and see everybody. And I think for the bulk of the last 15, 20 years, it was changing, but today we are 4 people in this room. I don't know if we're assuming the room, but we're 4 people in this room. You guys, the 3 of you, talk every day, I assume. I promise you do not live on the same internet.
For sure.
Right? And like, you assume that you see the same things, but you don't, because there is so much information that even the subtle nuances between what you see create a fabric of what you understand the internet to be super different. And like, until we have a better conversation about what people are actually consuming from a media content perspective, because, well, how do you figure out where you're going to eat lunch, right? Because like, what I see on the internet dictates what I listen to. It dictates what I eat. It dictates what I do. It dictates how I live. It dictates how I think about my relationships.
Yeah.
Right? If you're deep in the fucking red pill, Andrew Tate, Sneeko side of the world, like, you're going to think a different way than if you're deep in another side of the world, right? And I'm not promoting any of that, but my point is, I don't think as an industry, we on the agency side are catching up fast enough to the fact that our clients' problems are changing dramatically. And so what you're breaking and entering into, like, advertising will not exist the way it exists today in 2 years, because it doesn't exist today the way it existed 4 years ago.
Totally.
And so that's the thing, right? Is you have to chase 2 things, I think, if you're going to break in. on the one hand, you have to chase the objective truth and the real skills you need to actually answer the question. That is, I have a client that needs to sell a thing to a person that neither of us will ever meet. Mm-hmm. And how do we do that? But I think today, more than ever, you also have to chase another thing, which is, how do I get the people that already work in the industry that I don't think are being honest enough with themselves about how different this is than what they're used to doing, get them to feel you, understand you, relate to you, and then give you a shot. Right? So now you have it. Now your job is fucked. It's like you have two jobs.
Yeah, totally. So could you give me an example then of maybe how like you've gone through this even as a C-suite executive, where you understand both this, the new framework here, and but how have you convinced even clients like this is the right way to go?
Because I think it's a hard one to point to specifically because it's kind of like everything everywhere all at once. Like it all happens at the same time. But when I look at compare like ESPN to Overtime, right? Like Overtime is born from culture and the internet and content, and births accelerates things like 6-7 and all types of stuff. Objectively, truthfully, right? They have 110 million collective followers or something like that. Whatever. They started a basketball league, all this stuff. So are they having attention? Yes. Are they being successful? Yes. But if I'm at Legacy Media Agency, right? And media agency and then client, right? So it's like truth, media agency, client. Mm-hmm. If I'm at a media agency, do I understand Overtime? I would give you like a hard maybe, If I'm at a client, do I understand Overtime? Even less.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? So when I'm the media agency and I'm trying to sell to my client an effective solution, I'm going to have an easier time selling ESPN than Overtime. But it's actually Overtime is more true than ESPN.
Listen, I like that you're talking about this a lot, because if you think about breaking entering media compared to Ad Age or Adweek, it's kind of similar to the Overtime versus ESPN, the traditional legacy outlets that maybe like these agencies or these people probably understand a lot clearly because they've been around for 100 years, Ad Age and Adweek, but they probably don't understand breaking entering media because we're brand new.
Right.
And we're social first and we're different.
Right. And that's the thing, right? So you're working against more of an objective truth, because when you step out into the world and your internet, you see real life as it exists now and as it exists tomorrow, right? Because you're also in a more youthful place, right? Because unfortunately, yes, you can have a forward-thinking CMO or a forward-thinking person running an agency, but these people are old. So if you have I think it's tough when you start having agency folks that are social media experts and you have 1,000 followers and you follow 4,000 people. If you're an expert, why don't you apply that to yourself?
Right.
Like I could
the ratio's off.
Right.
Yeah.
And I could come in and say, I'm a style expert. I don't say that. But I think I look pretty stylish.
You do.
You know what I'm saying? So you put your money where your mouth is.
Yeah.
Right. I'm not going to sit here and I'm a basketball expert. How do I know? I play professional basketball. That's it. Mm-hmm. I went and did the thing. And so I think that's the difficulty. Because I think if I'm telling someone how to break it into, right, and I teach at St. John's at the grad school, I have a nonprofit, so I spend a lot of time thinking about how do I set people up to make things easier. Because to be honest, like my story, which is the short version of it, was I graduated, I went to Amherst College. I had decided when I was a sophomore, I started out trying to be an orthopedic surgeon, and I was like, this is going to take too long. Not that I couldn't do it, but I was like, this is going to take too long. I need to go do something. So I kind of had...
Do you hear surgeons or like likely to be replaced by AI. I heard that in a podcast. It was like with like the hands that they're going to be creating. It's like they're going to have like perfect surgeons too.
We're gonna replace everything and nothing with AI. The question is trust.
Yeah.
Are you gonna trust a robot to do the things, or are you gonna trust a human? So maybe the surgeon doesn't touch you, but the surgeon's still gonna have to.
I'll tell you what.
Figure out what's going on.
Sorry to derail, but if you think about San Francisco, like when I got into a driverless car, and like that's the norm. Like I would have never thought I would have trusted that, but like that's pretty wild.
I don't love it, but
it seems like people are like slowly building trust.
They're trusting it. Yeah. Well, because we're all gonna, the bell curve is the bell curve, right? So the late majority and early majorities like have to shift with how fast the early adopters and innovators move, and it just like the natural curve has to move. So you're gonna adopt. But so back to how I got. No, you're good. Back to how I got into this.
So orthopedic surgeon didn't go that route.
Yeah. So I decided, okay, I watched a PBS special called the Persuaders, and it was all about the power of persuasion and advertising and political whatever you can look it up. It's kind of cool. And I was like, look, all right, I'm smart. I like people. I can understand this. And in the worst case scenario, I'll work in advertising for a little bit, and I will, and I'll know how business works, and I'll know how to convince people of things. That seems like good skills that I could translate to other things, whether I want to be a lawyer or a doctor at another point or whatever. Graduate, move back to San Francisco, no fucking traction. I'm watching people who suck get jobs all around me. I'm working freelance. It's not really moving. So much so I moved to France to go from being a native English copywriter in San Francisco to being a native English copywriter in Paris.
Interesting.
That sucked.
Why
was
Paris?
Great.
Why Paris?
I went to French school as a kid, and
Okay.
so I had a homie who lived out there, and I was simultaneously trying to play professional basketball. So I ended up sleeping on my friend's couch for like 7 months.
Wow.
So, but I say all that to say, I don't. That can't be someone's path. I don't think that's their path. I think if I put myself in the shoes of a 20-year-old who, let's assume you're a 20-year-old who went to a major college, right? Because if you I went to Amherst College, it's quite small. It's like a little bit different, but and a little more niche. But let's say I went to a big college. I can get an entry-level job if I can finesse it and figure it out at a holding company or an agency. Okay. That's going to be hard to do, but we can try. But also, I most likely am 1 or 2 degrees separation from a friend of mine from school that makes $10,000 to $100,000 a month, right? Like by inevitability of the internet, right? Like that might not be your homie, but like that's your friend's friend.
Yeah,
And so you're, when you look at, and you're in the emerging media, like you can go on YouTube, you can see like what are kids at USC talking about, and then they'll just, I'm starting this business, I'm starting that business, I'm being a content, and so it's hard. I think we have, and so breaking and entering presumes it's on you who's entering, and I'm like, it's on us who are here. We got to make this thing attractive. Why is it attractive?
Oh yeah.
Why am I taking $40K a year for the sake of being able to say, oh, I work at Havas? I promise you, most people I talk to have no fucking clue what Havas is. So are we just talking to ourselves, or are we going to actually start to get towards the truth? And I think that's the thing that hangs me up. But that doesn't mean we can't give advice. And so we can get back to the advice.
No.
But I think we just got to establish that baseline.
So you're
first.
saying, to summarize, you're saying the industry itself needs to do a better job promoting itself to make it attractive for people to go into it, because there's so many damn options. You can start your own media company. You can start your own clothing line.
Why wouldn't you take a punt on yourself if the exchange is, I'm going to live in New York at $40,000, $50,000. I got to have 9 roommates and sleep in a bunk bed. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like,
well, I want to vouch, because yes, there is low salary when you start, but the cap is pretty high. Like you can keep going, and if you do well, you work hard within a larger agency, there are possibilities to get promotions pretty quickly. You make more money.
Everything's possible.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm just saying.
But the start to even say, why would somebody want to break into this industry? That's what we should talk about.
That, and to my point is objective truth that moves the culture in the internet, what media agencies know and what media clients know. You walk in with a lot of knowledge here, right? It's the same thing I say to everybody. Then when I give them advice, I told them this. I had my first class on Tuesday, and I said, I'll give you good news and bad news. The bad news is you don't know shit, right? You're going to walk into an interview. You're going to try to make a resume. You're going to try and tell me, well, I know how this. You don't know shit. Let's just relax, right? I don't know shit compared to a person who's 70, right? Sure. They just live more shit than me. It's fine. So trying to piece together your internship you've done when you were in high school and this, it's like, it's fine. Yeah. You don't know anything. Also, no one knows anything at work. You got to be at work, at a job to really know what's going on. It's okay. No one knows anything. That's fine. Good news. You know a lot about your own life, about the things you like, and about the internet and the things you grew up around, yep. Right? Foundationally, you understand social media differently, better than a person who is 60, right?
For sure.
Because you grew up with it, right? I remember me, when I went to my first college visit, I went to Trinity College in Connecticut, and they were like, yeah, I don't know, like, what's going on tonight? I'm going to go on the Facebook. I said, what's that? They were like, we're going to go. It's like this thing. You use your college email, and you see, like, chat with people that are at your school. I was like, that's insane, right? It was still gated by school.
That's wild.
Right? And that, obviously, I'm dating myself, but it's just to say I grew up without it and then with it, yep. And then I watched it grow. So my perspective is quite different.
For sure.
From someone, even if you were 3 years more my senior or 3 years younger, it would have been foundationally different.
Yeah.
Right? Because let's say 4 years for the sake of argument. So I enter into college and it's like, okay, first it's only colleges, then it's everywhere. Then you can, right? If you were 4 years older, you missed the whole thing.
Yep.
If you're 4 years younger, it was already
open to
ubiquitous and
yeah.
open. So
yeah.
if you went to a place like Amherst College that has 5 colleges around, you would have connected with all those people quite easily already if you're 4 years later.
Yeah.
So just to say, this thing is very dynamic. The problem, though, with this triptych between objectively what moves kind of media and pop culture and what media agencies know and what the clients know is that you know this. But when you argue with this person or this person who you're breaking and entering into probably a media agency or to the client side, you're going to try to explain them how this works. But they don't know this, but also they're not doing a good enough job, I think, especially at the agency side, acknowledging this.
Mm-hmm. This episode is brought to you by The Shipyard, which is a full-service marketing and communications agency, ladies and gentlemen. They engineer brand love as a measurable business force, building brands designed to spark, hold, and scale across culture and channels. From brand strategy and identity to creative development, digital innovation, media, performance marketing, and public relations, The Shipyard aligns every discipline to fight apathy and atrophy and create an unshakable presence over time. With coordinated strength across owned, earned, and paid ecosystems, The Shipyard helps brands adapt, endure, and perform under pressure so they are not only seen, but known and returned to. At The Shipyard, brand love is engineered to last, delivering integrated marketing, advertising, and communications built for long-term impact. If you want to learn more, visit theshipyard.com, where they have coordinated strength and unshakable results.
Right? They are the clients are probably a little looser because they're going to get the data and it should be like, I don't have any skin in the game, because if you completely change the business, like their business doesn't change when the audience and the attention and the media changes, because their business is they sell Snickers or, toothpaste or sneakers or fragrances or whatever. So their business doesn't change. How they sell changes. But the business of a media company changes foundationally if I can't just go to JC Dassault, or I can't just go to Outfront Media, or I can't just go to Disney or ESPN. Now I got to really ramp up my education. And I think It's probably the hottest take of this whole thing. Subway takes. What's your take? I think that the way in which this is changing so dynamically, I think, is putting actually everyone in a really similar bucket to black people, and that's a hot
Let's go.
take.
Yeah,
Bar.
yeah. Let's break it down.
But so I think, and I'll go back to the beginning, right? I was a Black Studies major at Amherst College. Like, I talk about this from participant observation, from my own life, but also academically. America is the biggest exporter of popular culture. The most American thing export is black culture, because it is a culture that is born from a collective lack of heritage, right? When you transatlantically slave people, you cut them off from their collective past, so they have to create a new culture that is in common experience. That culture has born the blues, it's born pop music, it's born a whole bunch of other stuff, right? Stuff we love, right? Fashion, whatever. When black people, and again, it's not exclusive to black people, but I can talk about black peoples because I'm a black peoples. When black people enter into these agency spaces, they're like, wait a minute, I know inherently in myself, this shit's gonna hit.
Yeah.
I don't remember listening to Kirk Franklin necessarily when I was 5, but I just kind of soaked up the sauce in my experience, and I'm like, can't really explain to you why this is gonna hit. So now I'm in a media company or an agency or a client, and I'm trying to explain to you something that I inherently understand, but I don't necessarily have the articulation to understand, because I didn't spend my life necessarily trying to figure out how to explain it to someone. I spent my life just observing it and knowing it. Right? And the things that make it hit are in the subtleties and the nuance and the differences. So when you think about what you're explaining to someone as a emerging new media versus a legacy media, and they're like, why would I go with you instead of something else? And you're like, because you get it in yourself and you live it, but it's not something you have the tools or frameworks or strategies or decks to explain.
I know. We just had this situation. We're just like trying to talk to a potential client, like work with us, and they're like, "Can you like send the analytics and stuff?" I'm like, "It's just vibes. Like, you just got like,
right.
Just work with us. We're doper than the traditional outlets. Like."
Right.
There's like most people, like, we feel like most people should understand this. It's hard. We're getting better at it. Like, okay, well, here's the data points. Like, here's the reasons. Here's some past experiences. Some anecdotal stuff. Like, you kind of learn the persuasion of like what that person is expected to hear to like make them happier to close the deal. But I'm still learning this too. So like, what advice? Like, how do we?
Well, I mean, that's the thing. The first thing is acknowledging what you're facing.
Yeah.
Because again, the objective truth needs to be translated into a language that this person understands or this person understands.
The translation is so important.
And that's the thing, right? So
it's awareness of the gap.
Right.
And then you have to translate it and like kind of like explain yourself in a way that they understand.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is twofold, right? Because translation is obviously, it's intention and impact, right? I can say whatever I want. I start speaking French and you don't speak French, then I have no impact, right? I have a lot of intention. Or I do have an impact. You're probably like, that dude's rude, right? He's like, why is he talking to me in another language? I don't get it, right? Whatever.
Maybe, yeah.
But also, the onus is as much on you as it also can be on the people who are receiving to acknowledge the fact that there is a gap and they're trying to understand something that, because I don't think that's enough of the conversation. Like,
it's on us, you're saying.
I'm saying, I don't get it. Right? I was on a panel with a guy 2 years ago. I'll never forget. He's like, Gen Z, no one gets them. Am I right? And I'm like, no, that's your fucking kid, bro. That's crazy. Just because you can't figure out how to walk downstairs and talk to your 11-year-old because you're just being a weirdo, just be normal. Like, just be normal.
Yeah,
it's
for
not,
sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just act like a human, respect the person, right? I'm not coming to you and saying, oh, you got a new podcast. I don't care about your podcast because it needs to be like this. And in my experience, in my career, right, like I went to France. You got to go to France to break and enter. Right? Like that's silly.
Yeah.
Because the circumstances aren't the same. And so the mutual respect has to be there. It doesn't mean that there's not legacy experience, right? Someone 15, 20 years in experience, they have a lot of experience of a lot of things. But that's what I love about sports, just to pivot for a second. But it's like sports is so about objective truth. Mm-hmm. If I win a game today and I play you again, a back-to-back, it does not matter how I won today. If I play you tomorrow, I still need to win tomorrow.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, right? I can be an experienced coach. There might also be the lack of experience. You know what I mean? Like they talk about, who was it? You know, like quarterback gets injured, for example, Super Bowl's coming up. Oh, I can't prep for a guy who there's no tape on him because he's brand new. Right. So again, that could accidentally be a positive, but it's not about saying automatically the legacy and the experience and I know things and that's my stance. It's saying I know things could be good. I don't know shit could also be good. How do we win? And I think that's where we need to all get on the same page.
How do we win?
Yeah. How do we win? And it's equally on both sides. Now, all that being said, what you need to do, I think, at the end of the day, better or worse, we're in a time where people are fried, like, and not in the Gen Z sense. I think I just mean like in the literal.
Burnt out?
Just the agita level is very high.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like we are used to a high level agita because we live in New York. So if we lived, somewhere calmer, like, what's a calm place? Carmel by the Sea. Very calm place in California.
Sure.
Whatever. Pick your calm place. Martha's Vineyard. Calm place. The difference between New York and Martha's Vineyard, from like a calmness, frequency of loud sounds, lights.
Yeah.
Like all of a sudden, everyone in the world who actually like kind of lived in Martha's Vineyard is now living in New York, right? Just in terms of you wake up every day, a new person got shot. You just saw someone get shot. Like if you looked at a graph of like the amount of times that I've seen a video of a person actually getting shot in my life, and it was like 1, and then it was like 2, and then it's like, what? It's a 50 every day. I'm like, what the fuck, right? So it's the agita is high. We're post COVID, so people know that it's kind of more of a vibe to work at home. So you don't want to be in the office. You also want to be restorative in a way that like the kind of grind culture of like the early 2000s is not something people want to accept. So there's a lot of things. So even to be fair to people with truth, people in agencies, people at companies, they all are dealing with the same thing. So I think your job is to find humans that can relate to you, because no one knows the answer, because they are, even if they knew the answer, they're probably at a high level of agita anyways. So they want to be able to show up to work, show up to their office, show up on a call and be like, Gino, fucking hell, bro. I've been talking to some people today. I had 26 Zoom calls back to back, and all these people fucking suck, and I hate them. But I'm excited to talk to you.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
Like that's really going to be your best currency, is finding the way to be the human that you are in the truth that you are. Because I'm not saying everybody likes me. I can tell from the internet. There's a lot of people that probably wouldn't like my type of tea. What's wrong with this guy? Why is he cussing? Why does he have gold teeth? Whatever it might be. I need to find people that are like, I'm a sailor, cussing, gold teeth wearing motherfucker. I like him.
Yeah.
And I think that's my best advice. To break and enter is you have unprecedented access to everyone. Yep. You go on the internet and do what y'all do best. When I hang out around younger people, I am incredibly amazed, because they will be like, yo, my sister went on a date this weekend. Oh, who was the dude? Oh, it was a guy named Paul. Oh, where'd he go to school? He went to Pace. In 12 minutes, they would have gotten his
everything.
Instagram, his friggin' MySpace.
Just
He
with
wasn't
that.
even alive yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah, just with the name, the first name.
Right, right.
Ellie does this. What, Ellie, what are your parameters? What do you need? Bare minimum. You need a first name.
And school, yeah, school helps, or where they work.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. So when you are sitting there saying, I'm black, right? Cool. Sorry. Hi. What's up? I would love nothing more to be known for what I know that I am, which is top 5 best in the game, CCO, period. Not black. But if I'm breaking and entering, I also know that I'm going to have so much commonality with another black person across the board. Yeah. And I'm not saying only do that, but I'm saying when you start looking at it, look for people. So twofold. Proactively, look for people that are like you, right? Yep. You fucking love cello, but you work in media. That's a small Venn diagram.
But they're there.
Right. Find the cellist media people.
They're there. Yeah.
Conversely, when you have a conversation with someone, you don't have to answer any questions. You need to do 2 things. You need to pivot the conversation from things you don't know to things you do. Hey, Gino, can you tell me everything about the way that the French language uses conjugation? Well, you know what? That's funny you asked me that because I'm just passionate about the cello. And so the cello actually uses kind of different tenses if you think about it. And it's da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Oh, shit, this man cello, I forgot my question. But you've told me something you know. So 1, pivot the conversation to things you know. And 2, create empathy, right?
Yeah.
Hey, my man got the mustache. I always wanted a mustache, but I never really have a mustache. But like a real story, my dad, there's an iconic picture of my dad in the 80s in New York, and he had a mustache, but I always been scared to shave my chin hair. Now we're the same. Right? And those are the 2 tools that I would give. Like if I was saying a simple summary, and not necessarily in that order, I would say start with, how do I find out something about the person that I'm talking to? Whether I go into that through my research, because y'all got to use your research, and that's real skills.
These podcasts.
And figure out stuff about people before you get there. Do your homework. Don't be weird, but find a way to create empathy and relatability so that they say, this person is a person like me. So I want to help them because they want to help themselves, because they want the help that they never got. And that's going to be true of everybody, right? And then number 2 is pivot the conversation to things you know, right? Because they might say, damn, bro did not answer a single one of my questions, but they should at least say, that was pretty slick that they did that so seamlessly. And they really did talk a lot with a lot of expertise and confidence about the things that they know. So I know that they can go in a room, they can be confident, they could be a self-starter. I can trust them with things because at the end of the day, no one knows what they're doing. No one, right? So can they trust you? Because are they going to give you things to do that they have to then redo? Or are they going to give you things to do that you're going to get done?
Yep.
And that's just basic humanity. Do I relate to this person? Do I like this person? Can I trust them?
I mean, in the broader sense too, you're just a good comms person. You're a good communications professional at this point. If you can do all this stuff that you're doing, you'll get advertising. You'll figure this stuff out if you have those skills. Yeah. Which is hard to develop, but it takes practice.
So
I love it.
Yeah.
What else? Anything else we could talk about? Because we're right at time here. You crushed it. I mean, how can people reach out to you? And you're very involved in the industry. Do you want to talk about the events that you're putting on? What you're up to?
Yeah. I mean, events, Black Week. Yep. Black Week is awesome. I mean, I think it's born from
When is that? Is it October?
October, yeah. Second week of October. Black Week is born from the same ethos, right? We have a thesis that culture moves business. And we're here to talk about the elephant in the room, which again, much of my conversation is the same framework of what's the elephant in the room, right? If you do something that is going to hit in culture, you do something that respects culture, it's going to have an easier time in the kind of life cycle of fluency and media kind of amplification. How you get in touch with me? I would say Instagram, LinkedIn. Honestly, I'm pretty reachable. I would say the advice I give to everyone: you're never annoying anybody. You just gotta send them a bunch of messages because like you want to get to it. But like I said, I gotta use terms that are more contemporary because when I say fried, I don't mean like there's like fried and chopped and
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
what's the other one?
Fried,
Yeah.
cooked.
Fried.
Cooked, chopped, fried. But they all
I
mean
didn't know
like
the fried one.
but they mean different
Like
things.
I'm fried. Like this is
Ye-
frying
ye-
me.
Yeah.
Ellie is our resident.
Yeah.
And we
far
love
as-
having Ellie in the office because she's got a 15-year-old younger sister.
Okay. So
So
you got the plug.
we're
The greatest insight into anything I ever need to know.
she's the best. So
Yeah.
it's like, and it helps us. Like
Yeah,
we
you get the
want
plug.
her to. Like when she comes home, we get new terms and new memes and all the stuff that's going on. Like
Yeah.
trying to understand.
See, because you're looking in the truth direction,
Yeah,
but a lot of people are looking in the legacy direction,
for sure.
and I think that's the conversation. But also, if you have your conversation and you start there, I think people are gonna say, "Damn, at least you fucking understand what's going on," and maybe I ask myself some questions.
Yeah, the self-awareness is so important.
Right.
Like I might not know what the like what Italian brain rot is.
Right.
You know, when that was a big thing.
Right,
But
right.
like I'm gonna try to find out and like
Right.
you know, try to understand.
And then it's like, how do you translate that, or try to get someone else to understand it? And like also just being honest with yourself about how much of that someone is actually gonna want to understand or would understand. And that also then just comes down to their humanity, right? Because if I walk in a room and I talk to someone who grew up in Philadelphia, it's highly likely that they like the Eagles.
Mm-hmm.
So if I talk to them about the Eagles, they're gonna love it. Fuck the Eagles. I don't like the Eagles,
No, me
but
neither.
I don't even have to like football to create empathy and have a conversation that they will like.
Totally.
You know what I mean? And I think that's the name of it. And when you, it's funny because you use the term comms professional, which is interesting because everyone has their own terms, and I think that's what you mean by that. It's like, how
Yeah.
do I relate to people
Yeah.
and communicate and articulate clearly? But those are skills that are can be developed,
Yeah.
but need to be cherished,
Yeah.
and are highly valuable.
Well, I learned a lot from this. I hope people reach out to you.
Okay,
You crushed it.
absolutely.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you. Appreciate you having me.
Nicely done.